Remember when we covered this?
You know, when I was younger, like, Democrats were cool. They were getting their sucked in the office. They were like, right? They were like supportive of like hip hop music. They said, do whatever you want. Like, we don't want to be in your bedroom. They were cool with gay people. Like, it was cool to be a Democrat. Now, conservatives got 3 baby mamas. The president got 3 baby mamas. He's getting left and right? He's cool. He's the one saying, say whatever the fuck you want. So now conservatives have become Democrats. So I don't think I've changed. I just like the dudes that get and say whatever they want. So it's you want me to be a Democrat again? Get some tell me to say whatever I want. I'm there. The idea that like you have this loyalty to the party doesn't even have loyalty to itself. So how can you say that, how can you say I have loyalty to the party? It's like the party changed drastically. It completely flipped in the last like 5 years, 8 years, 12 years, whatever you want to say. So maybe I'm just making decisions based on the things that I care about in the moment. And maybe that group is, you know, connecting to me more in this moment.
Well, Andrew Schulz has met his huckleberry.
First off, you're a child, okay? Like, you're a child. At age 41, you are determining who you want to be president and make policy for the country based on who you think gets the most. Like, really? Are you a teenage boy? I know you have a kid, Andrew. Like, are you going to decide what school they go to based on which principal seems like he's the biggest hound? Like, do you have any responsibility or accountability in your life? Anyway, rather than lecture you, I don't want to be one of those woke libs that lecture you. Rather than lecture Andrew.
That is Tim Miller of the Bulwark. You have probably seen him across many different platforms. He contributes to MSNBC. He is of the Bulwark. He's a former leading strategist for Republicans and a PR consultant. He was a spokesman for the RNC, worked on the campaigns of Jeb Bush, Jim Huntsman, Nikki Haley, John McCain, and Scott Walker. Take that as you will, because of course I will. However,
this Republican government, Donald Trump, has detained and jailed a woman for writing an op-ed, co-writing an op-ed, where she expressed concerns about Israel's war in Gaza. Okay? I don't remember Joe Biden doing that, jailing somebody, detaining someone because of their political opinion. Guys are getting sent to El Salvador because of their tattoos. Are tattoos not free speech? Is that not creativity? Is that not, do people not have free expression? We are detaining and jailing people in this country right now based on their opinions and based on their tattoos. Is that cool? Is that free speech? Is that letting people say whatever they want? Andrew Schulz? You know what else? The president just signed an executive order specifically targeting Chris Krebs, who worked for the Trump administration, who's a Republican, for speaking out and saying that he thought that as an expert in cybersecurity who is paid to keep the 2020 election safe by our government, he spoke out and said that he did not think that any of the conspiracy theories of the 2020 election are true. And do you know what that got him? The president of the United States is signing an executive order telling his Department of Justice to investigate him. Okay, Andrew Schulz, does that sound like a party that wants to let people say whatever they want?
So this is exactly the point. And I think it is pertinent to the times. Because Elon saying that his new 4chan design of Twitter is a bastion of free speech. Meanwhile, he will ban reporters. He will ban journalists because he doesn't like the sort of stuff that they are bringing to light. I remember there was, and I'm blanking on his name, who was a journalist that reported on extremism. He got banned from 4chan Twitter. Free speech guy. Big free speech guy. Unless it's something he doesn't agree with, then he will ban you. In the same vein, Donald Trump, President of the United States, claims to be this free speech warrior. He wants to be the emasculator of free speech. Well, that is until you say something he doesn't agree with. Or the people that are giving him money for his campaign, and thus he will carry out their orders because he is beholden to them. Much like a lot of folks who are in DC. They are enslaved to the lobbyists, not to the working class. It is simply the 1%. Yet Miller would make the argument by stating Andrew Schulz probably just wants to stay using words that are offensive, like the R slur and anti-gay slurs. Hear it from him.
If that is what you mean by Donald Trump will let you say whatever you want, then yeah, like Donald Trump doesn't care if you do racist jokes on your podcast. Free speech in this country is about more than podcasters being able to do racist jokes, okay? It also means that people need to be able to speak out about their political opinions without fear of reprisal from the government. And right now, the biggest threat to free speech in this country is the president of the United States specifically targeting political foes and telling his Department of Justice to target them because of their political views.
And yet, amazingly,
a lot of what that tax revenue goes into or is supposed to go into here in the U.S. is what then turns around and makes it possible for businesses to thrive.
Can
right?
you give us an example of that?
Yeah, my favorite example is probably the smartphone. The federal government could not have invented the iPhone, right? Like, I don't think any of us would want a phone that was like invented by the federal government.
That thing would suck.
That is like all of the design, the manufacturing, supply chains. That's the kind of thing that corporations can do very well. What makes the iPhone work? Well, among other things, the internet. The internet was literally invented by a federal research project. And it would never have been possible to invent the internet with a private company because you wouldn't have got the kind of capital return, even though it's $1 trillion idea or a multi-trillion-dollar idea. You know, companies can do multi-billion-dollar ideas, but $1 trillion idea, like inventing the internet,
right,
that requires basic research. And that's the kind of thing the government's supposed to do, among many other things.
It requires basic research? What does that mean?
Yeah, by basic research, I mean things that are so fundamental that you actually don't know for 50 or 100 years if they're going to have a return. They might never work out.
Oh,
right?
God, yeah. You can't look at it as this thing is going to be profitable. It has to be
So it's different
benevolent
from
endeavor for society.
Yeah, it's different from research on like a pharmaceutical company researches a new medication, expecting that there's going to
have a return in the next 10, 20 years.
Right, at least kind of within the kind of profit horizon.
Yeah.
But
public parks is another version of this and stuff like that.
Yeah,
you can't privatize the public park.
Right. This is the whole idea of public goods. Right? This is why we have governments, why we collect taxes.
God, we're turning into such libs already.
Does this show that they can be reached? I don't know. The Daily Beast printed that Buttigieg got Schulz and co. to agree on many topics. I don't necessarily think that, and I went in the comments section, very positive, very, very positive, which also shows that centrism with a tone of left-leaning views are more popular because these are just basic points that have been lost in translation through the rhetoric that Republicans have used, specifically those in the 2024 election, the general and down ballot, over what they stated. And what it also lends credence to is how unpopular these positions are, but because they use things like woke, DEI, going after trans people, it was all a distraction. And let me also be clear about this. I agree with Steve Hofstetter, who I hosted on my show, the Rick Strom show previously. He said that MAGA is a cult, and a majority of them will not be reached. They will not. They are drinking the Kool-Aid. They are all in. They have made it their entire persona to believe and enshrine this figure who really does not give a flying four-letter word about them. And yet I look at this and Schulz says, I grew up in New York and I was raised a Dem and blah, blah, blah. Maybe, but it also shows how deceit can win. And even in this free marketplace of ideas or whatever the hell, Dave Rubin and alleged Russian assets stated. I don't know if they'll still, and I'm not a Buttigieg supporter, but if they'll even support someone like Buttigieg. Like, will they? They could say, oh, I really appreciate the tone of this interview. I really appreciate his professionalism. Is that going to be converted into votes? Is that really going to change people's minds from that one interview after they have been fed so much mouth dribble of MAGA rhetoric? I truly don't know. I don't know. I try to remain hopeful in the darkest times, And skepticism as a media member is somewhat rooted in what we do because we look for the facts. And I truly do not know. They could host Bernie Sanders. Is that going to convert people? Theo Vaughn did it. I don't think it led to wins. I still don't know if it'll lead to a win. I'm open to the idea, but I don't think that we should cling to this notion that going into the lion's den will change people's minds. It's a strategy, but it's also one of many. If you can and are willing, please become a paid member here at TYT Sports. And or go to tyt.com/join. In addition, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate it. Have a great day.